Hello everyone and welcome to another match reaction on Football Talk podcast. My name is Ozzie and I'm your host for this evening. I've got mixed feelings with regards to the result today. Despite being down to 10 men very early in the game, in fact, Liverpool managed to gain a point with a 2-2 draw. So let's discuss the key moments of the game. I'll also do the player ratings straight after. Plus, this is a calling show, so if you'd like to come in and have your say, feel free to hit the link in the live chat and I will get callers on after the player rating. So let's start with the first half. I missed the first few minutes due to my dodgy connection, but there was a huge moment in the opening minutes as Diop produced a dirty challenge in my eyes on Robertson, and he was down for some time due to the impact. Now, looking back at the incident, that could easily have been a red card. For Diop to be given just a yellow, for me, is quite ludicrous. But as Liverpool fans, are we surprised when it comes to these decisions from the referee? Not for me. These PGMOL people, whatever you want to call them, keep making a joke out of us, and the agenda hasn't been dropped against the Reds, unfortunately. But hey, let's continue into the game. So Fulham opened the score line in the 11th minute as Robinson produces a fantastic cross towards our near post, and you see Harry Wilson hanging in the air, applying an acrobatic finish to take the lead. Now, this Wilson guy always turns up and plays like a prime Messi whenever he plays against his former club, of course, which is Liverpool. Very annoying, but you do get those players that play in that kind of manner. Then moments later, we witnessed the turning point of the game as Robertson produces a heavy touch in his defensive half, and as he's about to take a turn, Harry Wilson comes charging in, and Robertson reacts with a very late challenge. Unfortunately for the Reds, Robbo was given a red card and dismissed from the pitch. After that, Liverpool seemed really lost as a team, to be honest with you. There was no real structure, no real shape or tactics deployed from being down to 10 men. I was quite surprised that Arne Slot didn't bring in a defender or even a defensive midfielder like Endo. Because normally when you're down to 10 men, you automatically replace one of your attacking players, whether it's a striker or an attacking midfielder like a Szoboszlai, to add a bit more skill and stability to your 10-man team right there. But that wasn't the case. Fulham had a great chance just before halftime to extend the lead. But thankfully, Joe Gomez manages to block Harry Wilson's shot, and Pereira actually applied a decent dummy there. But in the end, Wilson was not able to convert his chance. Now, in the second half, Liverpool wasted no time as they struck the equaliser very early in the 47th minute. Salah produces an exquisite pass towards the near post, and you see a diving header being produced by Gakpo, and then he hits the back of the net. What an assist from the Egyptian king. And even though it was a close range finish, scoring a diving header is never easy. So credit to Gakpo for being brave enough to apply that sort of finish. Great start to the second half, and Liverpool looked like they were finally finding a bit of rhythm in their game this afternoon. But then Fulham tried to respond as they produced a counter-attack with Robinson driving down that left-hand side. He hits a low cross and it goes towards Harry Wilson, but he's unable to make any real contacts on the ball. Huge opportunity to take the lead for Fulham. Moments later, Liverpool were able to produce a counter-attack of their own. Szoboszlai is the driving force, running with the ball in high speed, lays it off to Salah on his left side. But unfortunately for Salah, he shoots, but completely misses the target. For me, Salah should have done a lot better there. Being a left-footed player, should have at least hit the target. Liverpool then produced another attack, crossed by Luis Diaz on the left-hand side. Szoboszlai leaves it for Salah, who dribbles with the ball, tries to place it in the corner. Fortunately, the effort was high and wide. But unfortunately, Fulham stabbed us with a surprise goal as Robinson produces a cutback pass inside the box, and Muniz, who's just come off the bench, hits a fantastic flick behind him and ends up finding the back of the net. But at that stage, things had to change for Liverpool. So Arne Slot made some changes and brought on the likes of Harvey Elliott and Jota. and they had a great impression on the team. Elliot got involved pretty much promptly as soon as he touched the ground. He's on the right side of the box. He goes inside and hits a curler towards the top corner. When I was watching, I thought it was going in, but he just missed the post. Very unlucky from Harvey Elliott with that effort. But finally, Liverpool got the equaliser as Darwin Núñez, also another substitute, finds Jota inside the box. Jota hits a fantastic turn to get past Cuenca, applies another touch, finished the ball with a lovely clinical finish. And that's what's been missing over the weeks. A real clinical, but also not even clinical, a real killer in front of goal. And quite frankly, I feel like he saved us from defeat today. So overall, after analysing what happened in the game and how it ended, you have to be content with walking away with a point today. Fulham showed moments in the first half, and they played some decent football as well, to be fair. But in the second half, a different beast was unleashed. In the way how we played, we were a little bit more aggressive. We were in more control of the ball, despite being down to 10 men. We had more possession. We had more shots on target. So we were definitely a different side altogether in that second half. The players played with so much energy, drive, and intensity. And that's what I expect from our teams from the beginning, rather than in situations where you're forced to play in that manner. And I have to give a bit of criticism to the coach today. I wasn't overly pleased with Arne Slot's tactics today. I thought as soon as we got a red card, you have to change personnel. It's quite logical to do that. You don't have to wait until the second half or later on towards the latter stage of the game to make changes. You have to make substitutions right away, in my opinion. For me, I was basically asking for Endo to be brought on. I feel like we needed a defensive-minded midfielder in our team because Gravenberg was playing centre, and although he did a fantastic job, I would prefer him to be in his normal position and then having Endo alongside him and maybe bring on Kwanzaa in the early parts of the second half. But it just doesn't seem to be that Endo is Arne Slot's cup of tea, and he just doesn't get featured that much. Now, I understand a lot of fans will be annoyed and angered by this result. Well, let me put it this way. Arsenal also dropped points today against Everton. So we're doing everything correctly, in my opinion, and we're still at the top of the table. So that's my overview of the Liverpool versus Fulham game. So let's move on and do the player ratings. If you'd like to call in, feel free to hit that link in the live chat, and I'll get you on shortly after the player rating. So let me share the graphics, and then we can go through the details together. So here we go. Alisson. So Alisson, for me, yeah, he had a good game today. He was definitely involved like he was in the Girona game, had to produce a couple of good saves. His distribution was very good from his kicking and throwing. Definitely helped us create a lot of counter attacks. Took one on the head as well for that second goal, but obviously not his fault. He was trying to block the play, and also that shot from Adama Traore towards the end. It looked like a routine save, but if you watch the replay, he saved it with his calf. Like, it was a bit of an unorthodox way of saving, but nevertheless, it was very effective. So for me, I thought he was solid today. So I'll give him a rating of 8 out of 10. I think he was decent today. Oh, okay, let's talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. He was woeful. Let's just say it bluntly. I think he was very bad today. And it wasn't just like one part of his game. I feel like attacking-wise, he wasn't really involved. There were a couple of glimpses where he showed a bit of aggression or urgency in his play by trying to play forward passes. But generally, I thought he was very, very poor. Iwobi got the better of him quite a number of times on that side of the pitch. And, Iwobi's a decent player, but I wouldn't say he's a world beater or he's an elite kind of player. So no, I wasn't overly pleased with that sort of setup. And yeah, it's quite quite alarming because he's been playing quite well in recent weeks, but he seems to have dropped in the last week or so. Has the speculation affected his state of mind? I can't really say for sure, but it's a strong possibility. So I don't know. Let's not dwell too much in terms of that outside noise. But I think today he wasn't great. So for me, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. That might be a bit generous, but I will just leave it at that for now. Joe Gomez, I actually thought he had a good game today. I feel like whenever he was called upon, he was pretty much covering ground when required. He was good on the ball. He had to play different positions today. Obviously, starting the game centre half, played on the right side when we had 10 men, then ended up dropping to left back just before half time, and even played in midfield in parts of the second half. So for me, he definitely adapted and was a player that, whenever we needed a player to adapt and try and play a different role, he was definitely one to do that. So for me, had a good game today. Obviously, it probably doesn't reflect the fact that we conceded 2 goals, but I wouldn't put it down to any errors from Gomez or Van Dijk even, to be honest with you. It was just one of those things where, goals like that happen. Maybe there's other players at fault, but, we can highlight that another time. But for me, I thought he was quite good. Not amazing, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he was solid today. So I'm going to give him, might be strong, I'm giving him an 8 out of 10. And obviously, my ratings are based on individual performance, not the team result or outcome. So just do keep that in mind. Virgil van Dijk, I thought he was very, very good today. Very solid whenever called upon. Dominating the air. They really couldn't get past him. Distribution was good today. And even in the second half, he was involved as an extra body up top, playing like a striker role almost. So I feel like he was definitely trying to galvanize the squad whenever we needed it, especially in the second half, to try and really push them and ask them to keep going. So his leadership qualities really shined for me. So for me, I'll give him a 9 out of 10. What do I do here? Yeah. I'm trying to be polite here, but obviously he took took one knock early on, which I'm probably say would have impacted his performance altogether. But that mistake was another awful moment from Robertson, where his reaction skills are deteriorating. He's lost a bit of speed, but it's just his awareness isn't the same, and that's a concern for me going forward. Now, I've always been presented with the question: would you keep Tsimikas or Robertson if we were to add another left back next year? And I've said Robertson. I think due to what he brings to the table as an experienced player, his leadership skills will be quality. But having said that, if this decline continues, we might have to look at selling Robertson instead of Tsimikas, because Tsimikas has done nothing wrong in my opinion this season. Whenever he's been called upon, he's actually been really good. Robertson has shown a lot of errors in his game, and that's not usually like Robertson. He's always been Mr. Consistent, so it is a concern going forward. So in terms of his rating, I'm not going to be rude and say 0, because I feel like that's a bit harsh. I'll give him a 1 for turning up. So he gets a 1 out of 10. Gravenberg, another great performance from our Dutchman there. Really good performance. Started the game really well, but then obviously had to deploy a centre-back position. I don't think he's probably played that role before. But this is the thing when you sign players from Ajax. They are very good at adapting to different positions. So it's all about technical ability when it comes to players coming through the ranks in that Ajax academy. So he's already well educated to cover certain positions if required in a game, and that's exactly what he showcased today. So really impressive with his game overall. Brought energy, even from a defensive point of view. He carry the ball like Matip-esque, you know. He really did his thing. So I was very impressed. Yeah, couldn't fault him anything today. So in terms of his performance, I feel it was a really good point. I want to give it a 9.5. I was very impressed with how he played today. Jones had a decent game as well. Uh, Kept it neat and tidy. Held a possession as well. Definitely improved in the second. I think first half we were just a bit everywhere, especially after going down to 10 men. We weren't quite sure in terms of what shape to present going forward. So it was a tricky moment for us with regards to that. So once we went back to the half time, I think Arne Slot explained what was needed from his team, and I think they understood from a tactical point of view what was required. So after that, I feel like he definitely improved, definitely brought more energy to his game. So I thought he had a good game today. Nothing spectacular, but solid game for Jones. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. So Bosley was fantastic today. Really, really good. Even though I was saying I wanted Endo on the pitch, and from what I've watched football for a long time. I'm sure everyone else has as well. Normally, when you're down to 10 men, you always take off one of your attackers or your attacking midfield, especially in a 4-2-3-1 formation. It's usually the number 10 that would get sacrificed because you've got a double pivot that can occupy the central midfield role, and then you've got your wingers and you've got your striker. So the number 10 is like a bonus position in that sort of situation there. So you'll normally take him off and then bring on the player who got sent off, and then you replace him in that position. So I would have said Szoboszlai would have been the player that I would have substituted at halftime. Not because he wasn't having a good game or anything. I just feel like it was an easier substitution to make. But fair play to Arne Slot. He kept him on. And I'm glad he did because he showed relentless energy in this game. Up and down the pitch, non-stop. Almost helped us create another goal scoring opportunity where he was on a counter attack. The first touch was a bit heavy, don't get me wrong, but he kept on driving the ball, laid it up to Salah. Salah, for me, probably should have scored with that left foot effort. But overall, very, very solid performance. And due to his energy levels, I sometimes didn't even realize that we had 10 men on the pitch because he was running around everywhere. So that is credit to players like Szoboszlai and Gravenberch, who have phenomenal engines. So without them, I think we would have really struggled today. So in terms of his rating, I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. Oops, not. It is 9. So yes, so Mohamed Salah, I think he had a better first half than the second. If I'm being brutally honest with you, I think he was the one that was outpacing Robinson. Robinson was really struggling with Salah on a few occasions, but at the same time, Robinson, whenever he got a bit of space, he exploited our side of the pitch as well. So not down to Salah's defending or anything to that nature. It was just that one would get the advantage and then the other one will respond straight away. So the pass for the Gakpo goal was sublime. I'm lost for words when I describe Mohamed Salah's playmaking ability because he's so good. He's so underrated. I believe that's his 100th Premier League assist as well, which is a phenomenal stat there. Or is it for Liverpool? I'm not quite sure. But it was 100 assists from what I read earlier on today. So no, really, really pleased for him, to break that record. But yeah, but I think in the second half it did get a bit quieter. He wasn't involved as much. That whole situation where we had like a number of shots, I looked at it afterwards. There was an image floating around social media where Diaz had the ball and Salah was in acres of space. So if he had just passed him, we maybe would have got the goal. But that's what in hindsight. But in terms of Salah's performance, I thought he had a decent game. I don't think he was very good to that nature. So I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. Gakpo, for me, had a quiet first half, but the goal, obviously, I think gave him a bit of confidence, gave him a boost that was needed, and started playing some good football. He had a shot moments later that was saved by Leno as well. So I was quite surprised that Armstrong took him off. I think he looked like he was a more positive attacker. I thought maybe Diaz would have been substituted, if I'm being brutally honest, for Darwin Núñez, but that wasn't the case. So in terms of Gakpo's rating, I'll give him a 7.5 out of 10. There we go. Now, Diaz, for me, showed glimpses today. I don't think he showed it enough, in my opinion. Made a few runs and, tried to do his thing, but I don't feel like he was very effective today. That moment towards the end of the game where, he had the chance to shoot, he was just taking forever to just execute the shot. He had so many opportunities. There was so many gaps, but he wasn't doing it. So for me, not his best game, to be honest with you. I thought he was okay today. I don't think he was as effective or impactful as he has been over the weeks. His goals have dried up recently as well, so that's something he needs to bring back to his game. So for today, I'm going to give him 7 out of 10. So that is my player ratings. I'll announce the man of the match very shortly. But what I'll do now, I'll bring on the substitutes and we can discuss a little bit further. So Kwanzaa came on for Curtis Jones. So let's move off. Kwanzaa. Also with Robbo. We'll just remove him all together. Move all together now. And then we had Darwin Núñez for Gakpo. That's for Gakpo. And then we had Jota, who finally made his return. Which is a great sub. We'll talk about him very shortly. So that was the lineup there. Let's try and figure this team out. So, what do you say? Yeah. And then you've got Szoboszlai there. And you've probably got. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so let's start with Kwanzaa, because I believe he was the first one that came on. He had an okay game. He didn't really do anything that was like, oh, he's going to be a problem today in terms of being a liability. Nothing to that kind of nature, but showed a bit more effort towards the end of the game. I feel like he was a bit more advanced, and he's won us a corner kick from remember. Yeah, did okay. Didn't do nothing, that's worth highlighting, to be honest with you. So for me, he gets an average rating of 5 out of 10. I don't think he was anything that stood out, in my opinion. Needs to improve though. He's definitely dropped his standards a little bit. He doesn't look as confident as he used to. So that's something that he needs to have that self-belief once again, because he is a good player. There is a good player there. I know he's been played in a position that he's not quite familiar with in terms of being at right back at times, but he needs to use his skill set to his advantage. He's got youth on his side. He's a quick player as well. Not the quickest, but for a defender, he's relatively quick. So that's something he needs to try and work on and try and build some more confidence going into these games. So hopefully, we can see a better version of Kwanzaa in weeks to come. Let's talk about Darwin Núñez. I actually thought he had a good cameo when he came off the bench. And this is the role that I like with Darwin Núñez, where I personally don't want him starting games, but I do like it when we need a bit more of a focal point or someone to provide a bit of aggression in that final third. Darwin Núñez is the person that could come on and change the game a little bit. And today, he certainly did that. He was pressing from the front, very aggressive, making tackles as well when required, provided the assist for Jota's goal. So obviously, he gets a plus point for that. So for me, a very good cameo. In terms of his rating, I'll give him an 8 out of 10. I was very impressed with the contribution that he brought to the team as well. I've just realized that Harvey Elliott also came on, isn't it? So who did he come off for? So I just need to refresh my memory. Because Harvey Elliott had a great cameo. So let's have a look. Harvey Elliott. for Dominic Szoboszlai. So let's quickly bring him on. So take him off. And then Harvey Elliott. Okay. Let's speak on the next player, and that is, let's talk about Harvey Elliott. Why not? I was very impressed with his cameo. I have said in my recent shows that I feel like he doesn't look match fit, and that's probably the reason why Arne Slot hasn't brought him in. Maybe not to risk any sort of aggravated injuries or any knocks happening in the game. So for me, it was more of a cautious approach from Liverpool to not to risk him so soon at this stage. But he looked like he's ready to go now. Really played with confidence, with a lot of guile. Almost scored a goal. What a fantastic effort it was from the edge of the box. So for me, he's a player that we need a lot of our squad members now. We've got a lot of games coming up. We've got Southampton next week, so that'll be a great game for him to get some real game time in that fixture. I thought it was really good today. Really positive cameo. I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Maybe that's a bit too high, but I really enjoyed his positivity when he came on. He really tried to make things happen. A couple of corners were a bit awful, but apart from that, I thought he did well. So 8 out of 10 there for Harvey Elliott. And the final player is Jota. Now, when it comes to coming off the bench and having an impact, Jota could not have done any more today. What a performance from him today. Literally came on and changed the game. Every touch that he done had real purpose to it. The finish, beautiful finish. Beautiful, great turn. And then in those situations, I'm not saying this to throw shade on certain players, but if it was a Darwin Núñez, I wouldn't feel confident with him being in that position because maybe he'd go for power and it goes over the bar. Diogo Jota is calm and collected. He's got so much composure in those moments that he literally just placed it clinically in the bottom corner. Keeper went that way, the ball went that way. That's a great. The turn was exquisite itself, but the finish, I just love the way he just did that. So good to see him back. And I know a lot of fans are like, they wouldn't mind selling Jota. I'm not quite there. I wouldn't want to sell Jota. I feel like he's such an unbelievable player that it would be a risk for us to just get rid of him due to the fact that he's not always available. My thinking would be that we sign an elite striker, a top striker, and have Diogo Jota on paper as a backup, where he can be playing games, but not on a week in, week out basis. So more rotational than anything else. And I feel like that way you can manage his game, you can manage his fitness better, and you're able to get a player that's impactful. And when he comes off the bench as well, so many times over the years for Liverpool, he's actually scored a lot of goals for us. So for me, it's a role that suits him. And if we need him to start because we don't have availability, or maybe he's in such good rich vein of form that he deserves to start, he's more than capable of doing that as well. So just got to be very sort of careful to how we manage his games going forward. But right now, he's the man right now in terms of that number 9 role. I don't see anyone better than Diogo Jota in our team. So fortunately, he's probably going to be rushed into playing a lot more games now. But having said that, we've got to be careful. He's just come from an injury where I think he had a rib injury or something to that nature. So that's quite a risky one for him to just, get over and just move on, because it's not quite football related. It's more so with his breathing and all that sort of stuff. So we need to be careful and manage him correctly. But in terms of his cameo today, fantastic. So you're probably thinking, why am I giving anyone man of the match? Is because this fella gets 10 out of 10 for me. That's what you call an impact off the bench. So for me, that's my man of the match, Diogo Jota. So yeah, that is my player ratings. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree, disagree? Have I gone a bit too high with certain players? Feel free to let me know. So yeah, that is my player ratings. I'll go through the comments, and if there's no callers, we'll conclude the show. So let's start with the first comment from Abdul Rahim. He says, "Hi Ozzie and chat. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing? Welcome salam to you. As always, Abdul. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for tuning in. We're doing well. Obviously, the result could have been better, but otherwise, all doing good. Thank you." He says, "Respect, togetherness, and hope Blessing to all. Trent, Robertson, Gomez, Jones, Diaz, Nunes, and Quansah wasn't good enough. You never walk along, and many thanks. Trent, I definitely agree. Robertson, yeah, at least said the battle. He's not even on my graphics right there. Gomez, I thought he had a good game. I don't think he was that bad. Jones, out of the midfielders, he wasn't the top one, but I did feel like he did contribute today. Diaz, I don't think Diaz was that great, to be honest with you. And Nunes, I thought Nunes was all right. As in terms of what he brought to the table as a cameo, he gave us the assist, so definitely played his part. And Quansah, yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't his best game as well. So yeah, some points I agree, and some points I don't think. I feel like they did their thing based on what we needed from them at the time. But yeah, that's fair assessment there. Well, Abdul says we need to improve from Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Fulham, and Arsenal game. Yeah, today's one wasn't down to our playing, because I feel like the game could have been different altogether. Diop probably should have got a red card in that opening few minutes, and that could have changed the whole outcome of the game. And obviously receiving a red card, our first red card under Arne Slot as well, it just took us by surprise that moment. So we weren't really equipped to play with 10 men, and I feel like it took us a bit of time to adjust to that new sort of way of playing, because we had to move players around and have a different tactical approach, not to go too forward. We have to be a bit more reserved in terms of using our energy and thinking a bit more attacking wise. So we had to be a bit more calculated in the second half than normal. So, but yeah, the Forest game, obviously not a great one there. The Newcastle one, yeah, obviously we drew that one. Fulham today and Arsenal as well. So yeah, we are dropping, these games on paper, especially the first three. You're thinking we should get something out of it, but we did. At least we got some points out of it. But apart from the Forest one, that's our biggest defeat so far this season. But yeah, definitely to improve on that. That's for sure. Steve says, "Let's go, champ. Let's go, Steve. Big up yourself. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comment." And his second comment here is Bozo Robbo. I rest my case. Yeah, you've been saying it for a while, Steve. I can't lie. I said he should have been sold in 2022. Robbo fan club told me to go and support City. Same fans, come outside, get your slaps. I prefer to start with 10 minutes than play Robbo. Yeah, his decline is it's here for everyone to see, unfortunately. And if it continues, it has to be addressed in the summer. Let's be brutally honest now. Steve said, look at that corruption today again against us. They don't want LFC to win the title, get a big lead. Exactly. That's what I said earlier on. They call themselves PGMOL, it's PGLOL, because they're a bunch of jokers, man. I'm telling you. The way the agenda is like so obvious to everyone, but nothing's said. And it's frustrating. People just think that always Liverpool mentality. You always think, the world's against you. At times it does feel like it's Liverpool against the world. So yeah, things don't change, unfortunately, but we've got to let our football do the talking now. We can't rely on these officials to help us out in any shape or form, because they're not there for that. So yeah, we got to take things to our own hands and present our own destiny going forward. Steve said we played better when Bozo Robbo got a red. Arne went 3-1, 3-2, 3-2-4, different formations played by Arne. Great comeback and got a point. It was a great comeback. In the first half, when we got that red card, I just feel like the team didn't know how to function. I think once they were back in the change room and had a discussion with the coach, they had a clearer picture, clearer idea of what was required. So, no, a definitely better performance. And yeah, great comeback in the end. And that's why I said I'm content with the point. I feel like if you look at what happened in the game, you have to be pleased with the point. Steve says these players who were poor today, i.e., Trent, Diaz, Salah, Robbo. Don't get me started on the rest of the players were man of the match. I agree. Diaz for me wasn't good at all. I just didn't get involved in as much. Salah was average, apart from that pass. First half, I thought he had some good moments, but second half, he really fizzled out a little bit. And yeah, Trent, I spoke about him earlier on, so yeah, not a great performance from Trent either. Steve said defense is down to its bare bones. Get ready to see Trent, Quansah, Van Dijk, Gomez run into the ground, and Groundberg play centre back. So from what I'm aware, Tsimikas should be available in the coming weeks. So I don't know if he's available for the Southampton fixture or not, but he has begun full training now. So good timing. Hopefully he's fit and ready because I don't know in terms of where he's at in terms of his rehabilitation. Is he just doing a sort of like light training rather than full training? From what I've heard, what I'm aware, it's full training. So hopefully he's available for that kind of fixtures because we need him. We need him now. We certainly do. Steve says, I think Arna made mistakes, i.e., taking off Gakpo Dom, should have took off Diaz and brought on Case the last minute. I definitely agree with the Gakpo one. I was quite surprised that he took him on because that's when Gakpo really started flourishing. After that goal, just gave him a huge boost, and I felt like he was going to galvanize the team a little bit more, and then we were going to push ahead, and then he took him off. So, yeah, I think it was probably premeditated that he was going to take Gakpo off, but I don't think he should have gone ahead with that. Dominic Szoboszlai, I thought he was really good today. I thought he produced a lot of the energy. You mentioned Chiesa. I wouldn't have played Chiesa today. It's too much of a risk to bring him on. So I'd rather give him a few days and start him or play him in to some extent against the Southampton fixture coming up. So yeah, I wouldn't have played Chiesa personally today. Steve said Bozo Robo responsible for first goal and red cards. Sell him on Gumtree next month. Bring him in new number one left back. Make Tsimikas back up. Yeah. The thing is, if Tsimikas being back up, would he want to be back up going forward? Because if he knows Robertson leaves, he's probably thinking I should be automatic number one. So it doesn't matter who comes in; they need to take his spot rather than the other way around. So it's an interesting conversation. It also depends who we acquire as well. Me and you both want one name, and that's Hato. He'd be a fantastic signing, but will it happen? Who knows? Steve says, how shite our free kicks, corner crosses? Yeah, corners today were awful. Free kicks, something we need to really improve on. We might need to hire the Arsenal coach in terms of set pieces because, yeah, we need to, get some tallies up in terms of our goals from set pieces. It's not as high. I feel like there's been chances. I remember that Newcastle game, Van Dijk had like 3 headers. Could have got a hat trick of headers in that game. So it's something we really need to improve on because these are the moments that can really be defining in us, winning the title. It really is. It's really that dramatic. So certainly we have to improve on that, in my opinion. The crowd was like a Champions League night today. Awesome. Yeah, they were loud today. It was really good response from the crowd today. FSG need to get their deals agreed this month for players to join us on 1st of January 2025, i.e. quality left back, centre back number 6. Over to you, Chief FSG. Yeah, I don't have too much high hopes, unfortunately. But no, you are correct in terms of the positions that need to be addressed. Just don't see it happening, if I'm being pretty honest. I don't know how Diaz finished that game. Another player that needs to be sold next year. I wouldn't sell him. I do like Diaz. But having said that, his goals have dried up. I don't think he scored since, is it October? It's been a while since he scored. So something that needs to be addressed, I think. But I don't think he would be high on my list to sell, in my opinion. Obviously, if he showed, not actually, but if he showed, that he's not happy with what things are going at the club and he wants to leave, then that's when we can look into it. But I wouldn't actively want to sell him like that. But yeah, that's my opinion on that one. Steve said, good to see Elliot back and showing plenty of energy. Yeah, he looked good today. Really, really good. His corners were a bit awful, but yeah, generally, from open play, was very good today. Steve said, this starting 11 is 2 quality players away from being perfect. Left back, number 6, get them in next month. Plus centre back. Yeah, I really do. Steve says, I fully fit Simicast Arnold number 1 left back. Facts. I've been saying that for a few weeks now. I've been saying it for a while. I definitely agree with that. I think when he's fully fit, I think he's number 1. He's ahead of Robertson. So forget the history. Right now, this current time, Simicast is number 1 left back in my opinion. Hakeem, big up Hakeem, says big up Ozzie, big up yourself, Hakeem. Hope you're well. Steve says, bringing a quality centre back next year. Lose Kwanzaa out. Loan Kwanzaa out for 2 seasons. He needs a championship club to continue his development and make mistakes without too much pressure. I actually would loan him to a Premier League team. I think he's definitely at that level. So like a mid-team slash lower Premier League team would suit him, because I do feel like he should be playing at the highest level, and that will really see where he's at in terms of development. Championship team loan wouldn't be too bad, but I would prefer to see him in the Premier League, if I'm being honest. But it's funny because last year we were, saying he's the successor of Van Dijk, and it just hasn't gone to plan. But the young player obviously has a lot to learn. So for me, a loan move next season would make sense, and that would hopefully give us a bit of space to add that quality centre back that we're all asking for. So that's why I think we won't sign anyone this January. It will be addressed in the summer, and that's just how I see it, unfortunately. Abdul says Liverpool FC requires additional personnel in key playing positions for January 2025, which are left back, centre back, DM, and number 9. FSG ownership doesn't have ambition. Never walk alone. Totally agree, Abdul. And that key word in that whole comment there is ambition. They lack it. And yeah, I've been saying it for a while now. And Steve agrees with Abdul, 100% FSG out now. Abdul says Chiesa is gaining ground. They have a match tomorrow. Brentford at home. We need to keep on winning. I'd want to see him in action in the Southampton game next year. I feel like it would be a good chance to get him back into first team football. Steve says super sub Jota or Shota. That's his best position. Coming off the bench, great finish. I said that earlier on, Steve. So yeah, me and you aligned. I feel like in terms of the future of our team going forward, I would like to see Jota as our backup striker, and then we sign someone of elite quality next summer to lead the line. Because I feel like in that role, when he comes off the bench, he's so impactful, and he's done it so many times for us over the years. And just because you're coming off the bench, he's not always going to be a bench player. He'll just be more rotational, in my opinion. So for me, that is the role that really suits Jota. And you're able to manage his game from, making sure he's not playing week in, week out, because he's probably getting burnt out, and he's not able to manage his way of playing. He probably plays with more intensity than what it appears. So that's something we need to address. Make sure we're rotating him, manages his game better, managing his minutes, and I feel like we'll have a player that will be so impactful and key to our success. Right now, he is the key to our success. He's probably the only real clinical striker that we have in our team. But we just got to manage. Even now, I'm speaking long term now. I'm thinking even now this season, we've got to manage him a bit more smartly in terms of what we do. Play him in games where we need him, rather than when you got Southampton and teams like that respectively, he doesn't need to start. So yeah, I probably wouldn't even start him in the Southampton game. I'd play him for the Tottenham game, but we'll touch on those match previews next week. Steve said if Jota wants to be the super sub, keep him. If he wants to start, sell him. I don't think he'll mind being a super sub, but if you call him that, then he'll be like, yeah, I'd want to go. I think he'd understand the situation where you have to look at your injury record. You can't demand being the number one when you're always injured. So the best thing for a coach to communicate to Jota would be that, look, when you're fully fit, you have every right to start. You have an equal chance as the other striker to start, but you got to show it to me in training before I make a decision. So give him that kind of pep talk to literally make sure he's motivated. I feel like you've got a good player there. And he won't just be a player that, not a good example to use, but he won't be treated like Endo, where he comes on for 5 minutes here and there. He'll play a lot of games. He'll be starting a lot of games as well. So for me, he'll be just as important as our other starters in the starting lineup. So for me, it's a role I think he'd be happy with. Not happy. I think he'd understand the situation, and I think he would know that he will have a lot to give and definitely be clinical for us, and hopefully help us get some success over the coming season, months, however you want to phrase it. So yeah, I think he'll be content with that role. Abdul says we need to dissect, study, learn, and break down the game like Nottingham Forest, Arsenal, Fulham, and Newcastle United. I'm sure Arnold's doing that on a weekly basis. He still talks about Nottingham Forest, so I'm sure he's doing that with his team right now. Jota gets rushed back too quickly. He will break down again. That's what I was just saying to you earlier on. I think we need to manage him a lot better now, and make sure that he's not just played him for the sake of it. Play him in the games that we need him to play. We have other players that can do the roles. We've got Diaz who can play up top now, so he might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I do feel like he does produce some good moments when he plays in that central position. So Chiesa, also another player that's back, so he can play that central role. So we don't really need to play Jota every game. We can rotate these guys a little bit more. So especially Chiesa, I'm really intrigued to see how he does, how he plays that central role if he's given that opportunity. So let's see what happens with him. Abdul says we need to have better game management strategy, breaking team down, plan B to Z, stop making mistakes, and we need other areas that can score goals. I definitely agree with that last part. I feel like we can't just rely on our tackles all the time. Our defenders are very dominant in the air when it comes from a defensive point of view, but that should be replicated when it comes to set pieces like corner kicks and all that sort of stuff. So for me, i.e. Virgil van Dijk and Konate, and fingers crossed one day as well, Joe Gomez, add goals to the tally, because I feel like they're more than capable of doing so. It just needs to be done a little bit more, and it helps with our whole sort of team contribution, because I do feel like the goals need to be spread around. So hopefully that's something that can be addressed this season. So he says Tsimikas Konate back middle of Jan. Is Tsimikas back in the middle of Jan? Oh, that's a bit of a shame. I thought he'd have been back soon, because there's already been pictures floating around that he's training with the full team now. So if that's the case, yeah, that's Joe Gomez at left back then. We've got to play Kwanzaa through the middle, unfortunately. It is what it is. Steve says, Kayla played 65 minutes last week, scored. I would have played last 10 minutes as a false nine. Kayla can finish his happy meal. Yeah, I'd like him to start that Southampton game. I wouldn't mind him in that false nine, but I feel like he would do really well. So we'll touch on the match preview in due course. And Steve says, will FSG back on the next month? Honestly, Steve, I don't think that they will. I would love to, but I don't think they will. I just don't. I think they would rather wait for the summer and then dress positions that can be done. I just don't see them doing it. If they do, I'll put my hand up and I'll say, you know what, fair play, FSG. You delivered. You backed the team. You backed the manager when needed. But I just don't have that confidence right now. Steve says, sell Diaz, buy Gittins from Borussia Dortmund as Gakpo backup. Yeah, he's a good player. He looks a very good prospect. Obviously English as well, so that helps. Steve says Kwanzaa gets loaned out to an EPL club. Too much pressure on him when he makes mistakes. It depends on the club, because I feel like I'm not saying to go for a club that will challenge for Europe. So let me give some examples of potential clubs. I feel like Brentford would be a good like a loan spell to go to. I think it would be a club where their expectations are just to remain in the league but have a respectful position. But so there won't be any huge pressure for him to really excel, because they're not challenging for Europe in that kind of manner. They're not really involved in the relegation fights to that extent. So I think a team like Brentford would really suit him. So that would be this kind of club that I would want him to join if I was to choose. Steve says, FSG have given Edwards Hughes extended Christmas holiday break from 30th December to 30th Jan. I hope you're kidding, Steve, because if that is the case, then you've answered my question. We ain't signing no one. That's for sure. We ain't signing anyone. Oh, I hope that's not true. Steve says, City looking to sign 3-4 players next month. Arsenal looking to bring 2. Chelsea want an experienced keeper. Centre back, Villa will buy. FSG nothing. We lose the title. I don't think these teams will buy that many players, if I'm being brutally honest, Steve. I very highly doubt City would sign 3-4 players with what's going on with the 130 charges. Forget 115, 130 now. So I'll be very surprised if they spend money in January. Arsenal, would they bring in 2 players? Maybe. I don't think they will. They don't seem like the club to just buy players unless there's players available. But I don't expect them to really strengthen in January. It's not really their style. Chelsea want an experienced keeper. They've got about 9 or 10 on their on their books anyway. So just get one of them back on loan, or I don't know. But yeah, if Chelsea get more players, bloody hell, you know, can't stop them signing players. It's just it's an addiction for them, I guess. But Villa don't really concern me as such. I feel like there's other teams like Brighton for me are doing really well. They're ones that could really challenge up there. Chelsea have added their name in the hat now. So um, even if they strengthened, I feel like they really need to sign a left winger. But they didn't really address that. They tried a few targets. They tried to get Pedro Conchalves from Sporting. That never panned out. That kind of player would definitely have uplifted them. So if they need to sign quality now going forward, whether they're able to do that, I'm not so sure. But I really don't think teams will be spending big in the January window. It will be similar to last year. That's how I'm predicting the transfer activity this January. Steve says Arsenal banner fan base have lost their heads today. Yes, I've seen a few things online. Yeah, they've lost it. I had a fan. His name's Kanto. Big up Kanto. He came on watch along. He was talking a lot of smack talk about you guys are bottling the league and this and that. I'd love to get his take on Arsenal right now because at the time the result wasn't confirmed. So yeah, they're dropping points left, right, and center, and the fans are feeling it. There's already Arteta out banners, being dished out, not physical bans, but as in hashtags you can say on social media. So they're ready to part ways with the manager. They've had enough. So I thought he was the guy, but clearly not. Steve says FSG have signed. Sorry, if FSG should have signed a quality left back, centre back this summer and add a quality number 6 next month. The smart forward squad planning. Unfortunately, Steve, FSG don't do things logically. That's not how they roll. So you can't be surprised at how they do business. The least money they can spend, the better for them because they generate more revenue elsewhere. So yeah, that's just how they move. Abdul says Liverpool next 5 games: Southampton, Tottenham, Leicester City, West Ham, Man United. We need to win every game until end of the season. I want EPL and UCL this season. We can win it. I believe we can as well. Those are the 2 trophies that I really hope we go full force in. The other 2, i.e. Carabao Cup and FA Cup, I'd like us to play our second string and also embed our youth players in those fixtures. If we progress, fantastic. If not, it's none of the world. For me, it's the Premier League and the Champions League that we really need to prioritize, in my opinion. Abdul says additional to win will be, yeah, exactly. But the priority would be, of course, the Premier League and the Champions League. Abdul says we need our owners to have ambition. FSG out. We need centre back, left back, DM number 9. Yep. I think it's quite universal for all of us Liverpool fans that those 4 areas need addressing next summer. So probably even say January, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, those are the areas we need to improve on for sure. Steve says Arsenal fans saying Arteta out. Yeah, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it all over social. So they're ready to let the Lego head go. So yeah, let's see. Or Mikel Pulis, as I like to call him nowadays. He's adapted a new philosophy this season. So maybe it's not what the Arsenal fans wanted. Steve says Gravenberch, 1 yellow card away from suspension. We are effed. That's going to happen, isn't it? He's a DM, so he's always going to pick up yellow cards. So, shout out to Endo. He'll get some game time. He'll get a start now, finally. So, yeah, I won't be too concerned about it. It'll just be a one-off game if it's, being suspended due to picking up a number of yellows. So, yeah, it's fine. I'm sure we can suffice with 1 game without Gravenberch. So, yeah, let's see how that goes. But, yeah, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's got a last comment here from Abdul. It says, respect to all brothers and sisters. You never walk alone. Love, respect, and hope. God is everything that will make you happy. Lovely, positive message there from Abdul. Thank you, Abdul. Big up to Abdul for your comments earlier on today. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to who else? Hakeem. And yeah, I think that's the guys today that really got involved with their comments. Appreciate your engagement today, guys. If you haven't already, and if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. In terms of upcoming content, we'll be doing our Premier League review on Monday. There is no fixtures on Monday, is there? So I know we've been having a lot of Monday night football recently. Let's have a look quickly in terms of the fixtures. So no. Oh no, there is a Monday night football. So I may potentially do a show on a Monday night, or I might move it to Tuesday night. So the best thing to do is hit that notification bell. So once I've uploaded a stream for YouTube, you'll know what time I'll be going live. And also follow me on social media, Ozzie.ftp on Instagram and Ozzie_FTP on X/Twitter for all the latest updates when it's coming with regards to my show. So yeah, so we'll be doing a Premier League review show. Then we'll do the match preview of Southampton versus Liverpool, which is our quarter final in the Carabao World Cup. And then we'll do the watch along on the Wednesday for that game, plus match reaction. And then Thursday, we'll do a match preview of Tottenham versus Liverpool. So, yeah, big games coming up next week. Just got a couple of comments here from Steve. Steve says, Arsenal new name, Arkstock FC. Yeah. Who is our second string? Good question. I'll touch on this on the next show, so we'll talk about it in more detail. I want to see some youngsters come through as well. Like Trey Nyoni is a player I really like, so yeah, we'll touch on that on the next show. So that'll be on Tuesday, hopefully. That was I know you can see my question, bro. No, I see it, but we'll go into detail in the next show because there'll be a lot to discuss. But yeah, we'll wrap it up for today. But yes, thank you for your comments, Steve, and thank you everyone for tuning. So take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't let this result, put you down too much. It's a point. It's still something for us to work on in terms of our positioning in the league, and we're still top. So look, long way to go. We haven't even touched halfway yet, so plenty of games for us to gain some more points, gain some more momentum, and yeah, we'll just take it from there. So as always, guys, take care, stay safe, and I hope to see you all very soon. Goodbye.